This is every single fight to make next after UFC Fight Night London, Blaydes versus Aspinall. I've got all of the key fighters from that card on the screen right now, and you may notice there is an empty box next to all of them, and that's where their next opponent's going to go, who I have hidden around the perimeter of the screen. I'll slowly reveal those opponents one by one as the video goes on and place them where they belong on the screen. Let's start straight away with the main event. Whatever there was of it, there was about 15 seconds until Tom Aspinall blew out his knee, and there was an injury and the fight got called off. Curtis Blaydes is declared the winner, of course, because he was the one standing up by the end of it. And I think he should move on to fight another top contender in the heavyweight division. There's a lot of people saying, hey, maybe he should take on the winner of Lewis versus Pavlovich and stuff like that. But I'm thinking to myself, hang on a second here. Not really. Let's let Curtis Blaydes sit out for a little bit and fight the winner of a fight that's coming up at UFC Paris towards the end of the year. Ciryl Gane. Bit of a no-brainer in my opinion. Gane's going to be on a one-fight win streak if he wins that fight against Tuivasa. Not really enough to get himself a title shot. That basically wasn't a win from Curtis Blaydes, but it technically was. So it's not like he's on a crazy win streak right now or anything like that. So the winner of Blaydes versus Aspinall or the winner of Blaydes versus Gane can then fight the winner of Jones versus Miocic versus Ngannou. You know what I'm saying? Jones, Miocic, winner takes on Ngannou. And in this one, Blaydes versus Gane, the winner of that one can take on whoever has the belt by the end of it. That's a great matchup to me. And then we move on to the loser of the main event, Tom Aspinall. Hopefully he's not out for too long, but even if he is out for a while, this matchup makes sense timing-wise. The loser of the UFC Paris main event, who I believe is going to be Tai Tuivasa. No-brainer. He called him out before. They're both going to be around the same ranking level whenever he does lose to Ciryl Gane. If he does lose to Ciryl Gane, of course. I mean, if Tai Tuivasa wins, then you can do Aspinall versus Gane and then Blaydes versus Tuivasa for a title shot. But I believe that this is the best way to do things. I believe that Gane is going to beat Tuivasa, and the odds would agree with me because he is a very sizable favourite over Tai Tuivasa right now. So these are the matchups that make sense. That gives Tom Aspinall a couple of months to recover, and then we see what happens in UFC Paris' main event, and then we can get a bit of time off at the end of the year and come back early next year for Aspinall versus Tuivasa and Blaydes versus Gane. We move on to the co-main event. Jack Comanson got a win over Chris Curtis. Curtis wasn't too pleased about it, but Jack Comanson got a very clean win. He looked good on the feet, and I feel as though that Jack Comanson should take on someone by the name of Jared Cannonier. In my opinion, Jack Comanson versus Jared Cannonier in the middleweight division, the rematch. And I think this needs to be the main event of UFC Fight Night Sweden. And it can be a storyline of Hermansson trying to redeem his loss. He's on a 2-fight win streak right now. I believe he beat Shabazian. Now Chris Curtis. Chris Curtis basically might as well have been ranked number 15 coming into this matchup. He's been doing good stuff outside the rankings. Either way, Jack Comanson, Jared Cannonier. Cannonier just lost to Israel Adesanya, so he's going to need a little bit of time off, but he'll still be back before the end of the year, I assume. And Jack Comanson, although was in a bit of a scrap, he'll be ready in 5 months' time, so I believe that fight card is in November. So let's do Jack Comanson versus Jared Cannonier too. And the storyline is there, because the last time they went to Sweden, I believe, Hermansson got KO'd by Cannonier, so this is how they can run it back, make a bit of storyline out of it, and then maybe have Gustafson retire on the co-main event or undercard somewhere. But we move on to another matchup. Paddy Pimblett, the one we've been waiting for. I see a lot of people saying on the comment thread of the UFC Instagram post, man, Pimblett versus Ferguson would be good. This is why you don't let these absolute NPCs talk on behalf of our fighters, okay? Paddy Pimblett just beat Jordan Levitt. Okay, there are so many more deserving lightweight contenders that need to jump up the rankings if they're going to give anyone to Tony Ferguson. There's other, like Damir Ismagulov has been putting in work and he's outside the rankings, maybe number 15. You got Jarlin Turner. Like, there's so many more deserving contenders to get that jump into the top 10. We are not giving Paddy Pimblett Tony Ferguson. I don't want to see that. I want to see instead a bit of a middle jump up. Okay, not so much of a jump up, but a little bit of a jump up. And I know a lot of people are saying Ottoman Azaitar, but Azaitar's looking like he's ready to jump right back into camp right now and get ready for a fight. So I don't see Pimblett turning around that quickly. I see Paddy Pimblett being back on the McGregor card in December or at Madison Square Garden in November in New York, of course, and fighting against Jim Miller. A perfect jump up, in my opinion, for Paddy Pimblett. If he can beat Jim Miller, he's really good. That's what it's shown over the few years. We've seen a lot of contenders and a lot of veterans, even like Cerrone himself, but a lot of contenders like Nicholas Motta and other guys coming up fail the Jim Miller test. And he's still going strong. I believe he's on a 3-fight win streak right now. So if Paddy Pimblett can beat him, he separates himself from yet another group of lightweight contenders. He's beaten the bottom feeder guys earlier on in his career. He's just shown that he's above that next level up by beating Jordan Levitt. Now let's see if he can pass the Jim Miller test. Plus, you've got to kind of give Paddy Pimblett a name when you're looking outside the rankings that can justify him being in a good position on a card, okay? You can't have him fighting some random guy on a massive position on a card, like on a pay-per-view main card or something like that. But Jim Miller is such a big name. Well, he's a known name and he's a legend of the sport himself. I don't know if he's that popular really in a casual fan sense, but people know of him. So I feel like Paddy Pimblett versus Jim Miller is a perfect jump up. And honestly, Jim Miller could win. This is not me giving Pimblett a easy win for Paddy Pimblett. No. Jim Miller could genuinely win this matchup. Pimblett looked good against Levitt, but he's going to have to make some improvements in the stand-up, let's just say, because Miller's dangerous on the feet and dangerous on the ground as well. So I think that's the next matchup to make. Pimblett versus Miller. We move on to another matchup. Nikita Krylov won on the card. So did Volkan Ozdemir. And Nikita Krylov actually called out Volkan Ozdemir. This makes sense to me, in my opinion, because they're both similarly ranked in the light heavyweight division. Neither of them have really earned a top 5 opponent. They've had a loss recently in their career. I think Ozdemir had 2 losses recently in his career. Now he's kind of rebounded against Paul Craig. Nikita Krylov lost to Paul Craig himself. Now I believe he's on a win. He's coming off a win now against Alexander Gustafson. Very sad for Gustafson, but as I said, I feel like Gustafson should be looking to take on a guy like... Who should Gustafson be taking on? No idea, really. To be honest with you, Gustafson should just sit around and anyone they give him to fight. Like, I know Shogun's got 1 fight left on his contract. Right? I mean, that'd be a nice way to send him off. Shogun's got 1 fight left on his contract, so let's do Gustafson versus Shogun in the co-main event of UFC Sweden. Makes some sense to me, in my opinion, but either way, we've got Nikita Krylov, Volkan Ozdemir, 2 top 10 light heavyweight contenders. The winner of this one will be looking towards the top 5. And I think because Krylov called him out, you're not going to get many call-outs from guys like Ozdemir and Nikita Krylov. And Krylov called him out for the UFC October pay-per-view, UFC 280, to go on the prelims. So that would just make that card absolutely amazing. Add it on. UFC 280 is already looking like one of the best cards I've ever seen. So just adding some good fights on the prelims like this one in the co-main event or main event of the prelims would just make it even better as a card. So I'm all in. Molly McCann got a big win in the second feature fight of the card, I guess you could say. She was on the main card. People were looking forward to her matchup. She beat Hannah Goldie with a very good win. And I don't think she's ready for a ranked opponent yet. She still has quite a hit-and-miss UFC record. And the 2 girls that she's recently taken on aren't the best of opponents. And she's lost to Procopio and she's lost to other girls in the UFC as well. But I think now that she's getting some momentum, she needs to fight that one opponent that's going to get her in a position to start calling out ranked names that are maybe on the slide in the women's flyweight rankings and stuff like that. So I feel as though we should see Molly McCann versus Miranda Maverick. That way you keep one of your rising prospects in the women's flyweight division. And Miranda Maverick, of course, should have beaten Macy Barber. She won 29-28, but she's coming off a big win right now. So let's do Molly McCann versus Miranda Maverick. Double M, make it happen. I like that matchup. I think it will be a good one to see. And I think it'll be a tough test for Molly McCann as well in terms of the takedown defense. So let's see how much she's worked on her grappling by giving her a very good grappler in Miranda Maverick. And the winner of this one will either be ranked number 15 in the division or earn themselves a shot against a top opponent, because we've already got girls looking at top 10 ranked opponents like, you know, Casey O'Neill, Erin Blanchfield. There's a couple of girls that are already looking for that jump up, and I don't think you should give it to Molly McCann over them. Have her fight Miranda Maverick. That way, even if she loses, you've got some hype behind a young prospect in Miranda Maverick herself, and I think that's what they should do next. Moving on to another matchup on the card. Nathaniel Wood got a big win over Charles Rosa in the featherweight debut of his career, the UFC featherweight debut at least. I think he fought there earlier in the regional scene, but either way, Nathaniel Wood at featherweight is looking good. I don't think he's going to be moving up to the rankings or anything like that. But then again, I don't want to give him someone too easy because he was already quite highly ranked in the bantamweight division. I believe he was like 5-2 at bantamweight and arguably should have beat Casey Kenny because it was robbery. So arguably like 6-1 or 5-1 or something like that. So Nathaniel Wood versus Bill Alger, a guy who got a big win recently over Herbert Burns. He's on a 2-fight winning streak. I think he beat Joe Anderson de Brito as well, so he's going to be pretty highly ranked outside of the rankings in the featherweight division. So let's do Nathaniel Wood, Bill Alger. They both fought around the same time. I know Bill Alger called out Chase Hooper, but I don't want to see that matchup. I feel like he would just easily beat Chase Hooper, and I think he knows why he's calling out Chase Hooper, because he thinks he'd very easily win as well. And I don't want to see that. I want to see tests. Okay, I want to see people tested, and I want to see Nathaniel Wood versus Bill Alger. I think it'd be a very fun matchup to watch, and I think the winner of that one can then start looking at some big names outside the rankings, and then start looking at ranked opponents themselves. But let's get it going. You know what I'm saying? October, November latest. I don't want to be waiting around till December or next year or anything like that. Let's keep it going. Keep the ball rolling. Nathaniel Wood's not really a young prospect anymore like he was. He's had so much time off. So let's get him back in there straight away. 3 or 4 months later against a very talented guy in Bill Alger. I think that'll be a very fun scrap over 3 rounds. We move on to another matchup, which is Mohammad Makayev. He got a big win over Charles Johnson. So I feel as though his next test should be a guy who he's been calling out for a long time, Tim Elliott. A man who takes on all of the up-and-comers in the UFC flyweight division. Of course, if Elliott had his own way, he'd rather fight a guy a bit higher ranked. But Tim Elliott, the UFC don't want you there. You know they don't. You're an older guy on the way out that's already lost to this guy, that guy, this guy. So I feel as though you're going to draw the short straw here against Mohammad Makayev. And honestly, watching Charles Johnson stuff takedowns for 3 rounds, and even if he did get taken down, get back up immediately afterwards and land total strikes of damage and stuff like that and make things work and not really get dominated, I feel as though Tim Elliott's got a solid chance against Mohammad Makayev. And if he's a massive underdog, that's a good underdog to start considering winning that matchup, because he's got great takedown defense, really good scrambles as well. He's got good stand-up, really good pacing as well, which I don't know if other guys have lower down in the flyweight division. I feel as though Tim Elliott would be a big test. So I say put those two. I mean, Mokaev wants to fight at MSG or Abu Dhabi in October. I say that's what you do with him. Maybe we can have an Abu Dhabi prelim set. I know we've already got Marina Rodriguez versus Amanda Lemos. Let's add on Krylov Ozdemir, Nathaniel Wood, Bill Alger, and then Mokaev versus Tim Elliott on the prelims as well. That sounds good to me. Moving on to another fighter on the card, I thought I'd mention him as well. He got a good win over Mohammad Makayev, and Jonathan Pearce is now, I believe, on a 4-fight win streak in the UFC featherweight division, and he needs to jump up. I don't know if he's going to get too much of a jump up because no one really cares about him, and I'm not saying that to be mean. I just feel like no one really cares about his career, so he's not going to get that treatment of jumping way up the rankings after every win. Plus, the people that he's been beaten have been not great names. Mokaev is a good name, finally, that he's got on his career, so he can now start looking to move up and fight the Lerone Murphys of the UFC featherweight division. Make it happen. I know Murphy's looking to come back later this year. I think he had a car accident or something like that and was in some real trouble, so he's looking to recover and get back in there. I say if they're going to Sweden in November, you know what I mean? Pearce just got himself, like, people now know of Pearce that were at the UFC London card. It's a pretty similar area to Scandinavia in terms of geography of the world. So let's go for Lerone Murphy versus Jonathan Pearce on the main card of UFC Fight Night Sweden in November. Sounds good to me. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Pimblett versus Miller. I want to see that. That's a great test, and it's a good, like, co-main event of a fight night. Or November pay-per-view with Jones, Miocic in the main event, co-main event Adesanya Pereira, all these other fun matchups you can make on that card, and then we just slide in as the main card opener, Paddy Pimblett versus Jim Miller. Let's make it happen. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye.